In this video I made full Plants vs Zombies gameplay realistic, and I only had 24 hours to do it. I started with adding screenshots from gameplay I found on Google Images. Then I decided to make typical garden for Plants vs Zombies. It's basically 2 green squares at the top, 2 at bottom and a pool in the middle. So I also made a gap in the ground for the water. Once I had it, I wanted to make fence because I will know where will end my grass. To make it easier, I made only one and copied it few times. When I started making grass, I wanted to make it symmetric and with 2 different colors to make it look like chessboard. I hadn't much time left and I knew I will spend a lot of time in setuping scene, so I decided to download free to use models from SketchUp. Links to all models I used are in description. I also used some basic textures so I will know how it all looks like. When I was looking for other models, I couldn't find this little potato bomb, so I downloaded reference and modeled one. When I was done with modeling main shape, I started modeling stones. I made 3 different stones and then copied them around my model. Once I finished it, I made some textures for stones, and for potato I used free texture from my extension, where it's free to use models and textures. If you want tutorial how to download it, you will find it on my Patreon, link is in the description. When I had water, I needed to add some lily pad on which will be standing pea shooter. While I was looking for some good models from Plants vs Zombie, I found only one collection of models, so I decided to use big potato or whatever it is and sunflower. For potato I used texture and eyes that I already had, and I can say that it looks really terrifying. I placed it to scene and started texturing chomper. For his skin I used warm texture where I made color more darker. Texturing his leaves was really time consuming because it was made from a lot of small parts and I think it would be faster to make that model on my own. I spent on it already much more time than I expected, so I continued texturing it. Pea shooter that I imported to my scene was already animated, so it saved me few hours. It didn't have animated leaves, so I needed to animate them manually. Then I added some textures to the sunflower from my extension. Once I had that done, I copied it few times and added it to my scene. Finally, it started looking good. I found a pack with zombie models on Google, so I imported one zombie as a reference and started making a road on which the zombies would be standing, along with some background made from old house models. The ground without grass didn't look very good, so I added it, even though I knew it would make rendering take much longer. For the background, I used a simple plane with a sky texture and I couldn't forget to add fog to create a spooky atmosphere. I forgot to rig the sunflower, so I added a few bones and animated them. Then I copied my pea shooters and pasted them onto the next lily pads. After that, I changed the color to blue. The textures of the lawn mower weren't really good, so I retextured them to make it look more realistic. Rigging the chomper wasn't easy and I encountered a lot of problems with it. After a few hours of trying to fix bugs, I decided to rig 3 parts of the chomper. Even though it's not perfect, any bugs are not visible in the final render. So I imported it back into my scene and animated it. Once I finished that, I copied a few other models and filled the garden to make it look more like gameplay. The garden was completed, but I also needed to place it in front of the house, which will be visible on camera. So I made another plane where I added simple grass and a family house on it. Then I made final adjustments to the fence, added sunlight and set up the camera. I tried a few movements, fixed all bugs and rendered it. All these decorative finishing touches took me about 5 hours without rendering. Before I show you final render, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, if you want the Blender file with all models I used, you can find it on my Patreon. The link will be in description. And here are the final results. Brains.
Start! Brains. Brains.